Something weird started happening the more coaching calls I got on this year with 7 and 8 figure coaches. And that was, I noticed that the bigger their business was, revenue was up, sales were up, lead flow was great, the more common I would start to also hear from them that they felt stuck. They felt trapped in the very business that they thought was going to give them freedom. Sound familiar? And oftentimes we think the problem is buy back my time, hire more people, build better systems. And yet they were doing many of those things and still felt quietly trapped in their own business. Oftentimes leading to, burnout, but this common phrase of like, I just want to burn it all down. And at this point, you don't need a bigger team and you don't need to just go buy back your time. You don't need an AI calendar app, and you definitely don't need to just work harder to figure it out. What you do need to do is stop being the reason your business runs slower than it should and make sure that you actually build a business that could run and, here's the key, grow without you. But most people on their scale up to just their first million, their business was very reliant on them. And then they find themselves trapped in a prison that they built, growing a business that they're growing to hate. And the hard truth is, if you can't grow your business without having to live in Slack to put out the fires, and then hop on Zooms to make final approvals, and then in turn have to tell your team what to do next, day to day or week to week, you are the bottleneck. And the good news is there are 2 pretty simple solutions that I'm going to walk you through in this video. And I learned a lot of these lessons the hard way, just like you. I started in entrepreneurship at 19 years old. I've grown 6 successful businesses, one being my online fitness coaching business that I grew to multiple 7 figures, and another one being my online business consulting that is on the Inc. 5000 fastest growing list. And that doesn't disqualify me from having run and grown businesses that I felt trapped inside, that I felt like I couldn't go on real vacations, that I felt like the only time it grew was the harder I worked. And it got to the point where I oftentimes in those types of businesses, yes, felt like the bottleneck, but if I'm just being honest, I felt like the dancing bear. When I worked, the business grew. When I stepped away, it felt like it would burn down or fall apart. And that is not both a business of freedom, but it's most definitely not creating a lifestyle of freedom. And I want to help you with that. So if you desire to scale to 250K, 500K a month and beyond in your business right now, but without having to work 7 days a week, 12 to 16 hour days, 50 weeks of the year, then you need to make sure that you have these 2 simple solutions in your business. And there are things that you could apply right away. And the cool part is you can see the immediate results of this in your lifestyle when these are installed. I was just talking to a student yesterday and we were laughing about how a couple years back, they were making millions of dollars, but they were doing it in the way where they just kept hiring more team, hiring more VAs, delegating, but without these systems. And we were laughing about how just a couple years back, they felt angry at their team at all times. They felt burnt out and they felt like they were working all the time, even though their business was getting bigger. Just this past week when we were chatting, he shared with me that his schedule at this point is 90% free flow, 10% structured. He had shared that on a Monday, he had worked out twice, taken a nap, and yet his business is growing and continuing to thrive. I was recently on a call with a student doing 500K a month, and he shared how what we're about to go through was absolutely game-changing for them, not only leading to record-breaking revenue months, but doing it in a way that his relationship is thriving. He just completed an Ironman, and everything in his life feels on point when just a couple years back, he also felt like he was growing businesses that he felt like he was a prisoner within the very thing that he thought was going to give him freedom. And the truth is, so often you think your calendar is packed because your business is growing, you're busy. And we wear that almost like a badge of honor. But more times than not, it's not that you're actually busy. So often it's that you lack systems and you're disorganized. The truth is, your business isn't busy, you've become the bottleneck. If you want to grow from like that $1 million a year mark, but now start to go to 3 mil, 5 mil and beyond, here's a hard truth you have to get to. And that is that busy is not what's going to grow your business to the next level. But you have become the bottleneck in your business, and it's time to free yourself from that so your business can scale. So if you're tired of feeling like you have to babysit and double check everything, or your day-to-day is stuck in low leverage tasks when you want to be working on high priority, high value, working on the business type tasks. You delegate, but then everything keeps coming back to and through you. Your schedule looks great, but then you end up canceling workouts, delaying family time, going on vacations, but never feeling like you check out, and you're working tons of nights just to catch up. You've built a business that works, but only if you're working. And that worked on its way to $1 million. But now you want to build a business that's scalable and with freedom, and it requires the systems we're about to walk through. Okay, so let's walk through the 3 pieces of what I call the CEO time system that has been a game changer for me. And I'm not the person on the internet that tries to sell you on some better than it sounds vision of like, you will never feel like you're working a day in your life. I pride myself in how hard I work, but I also pride myself on how, as I work hard, it maintains an equal prioritization of me showing up as a dad. Prioritizing my health and training jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and surfing regularly, taking trips and full days off, seeing my family and prioritizing relationships, and whatever is important to you. That's what you can create through this system as well. There are 3 pieces. Number 1, pay yourself first. We'll walk through that here in a second. Number 2, the 4 Ds. And number 3, shout out to the author of this, but the 12-week year. These are the 3 things that are an absolute game changer for CEOs who want to grow to the next level with a higher level of time freedom. Okay, let's break down the first one. And that is pay yourself first. And there's a couple pillars to this. I remember in one of my very, very first businesses, I had a member of my team who said, Mike, can I watch how you plan? And I said, sure, absolutely. So he came by the office. The office was shut down for the day. And I said, come on. He comes into my office. I open up my laptop and I get to work. I start planning. And he goes, Mike, what are you doing? And I said, I'm planning. And he didn't think I was planning, because what he saw me doing was Googling summer country concerts and the New York Giants home schedule. And the reason I share this is he said, I thought we were planning out the business. I said, I am planning out the business. When I pay myself first, and so often we hear that phrase, pay yourself first, and we think it refers to what? Money, and we're supposed to put 10% aside, 20% aside whenever we get money. And that is true. That's for another video and another day. But I also think that we say time is our most valuable resource. Focus is our most valuable resource. So if we apply pay yourself first to money, why are we not applying it also to our own time? So I think we should pay ourselves first, because I believe when I'm filled up, when I'm fueled up with the things that make me me, that make me the best version of myself, I will actually show up in my business as a better version of me. So the first thing he saw me doing was planning out all of the concerts and all of the Giants games that I wanted to go to. And then I build my business schedule around that. So when I am working an 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour day, which happens sometimes as a CEO, I don't feel resentful. I feel rejuvenated. I feel alive, because I know that I've also paid myself first. And I know that I have those things in my schedule as well. So the first thing a CEO wants to do is block off personal things, what I'll call personal rocks, first. The second thing, and this sounds silly to some people at first, they want to plan to plan. Jim Rohn has a great quote that says, every day deserves 15 minutes. Every week deserves an hour. Every month deserves 2 to 3 hours. Every quarter deserves a half a day. And every year deserves a retreat. What was Jim Rohn referring to here? He understood the power of planning to plan. That we oftentimes undervalue what just 15 minutes of clarification or preparation can do for our execution the next day. And so he suggests that every day you have in your calendar 15 minutes to review the next day, to set priorities and to get clarity on your intentions. Every week you should have an hour to do that same thing. And so the second thing I think people should put in their calendar is the time where they are going to plan to plan. And the third thing is to apply into your schedule what I call standard over schedule. A question I like to ask myself that I oftentimes ask students when it comes to applying this is the following question. If your business were to grow by 2x and you were to hit all of your revenue levels, but you did not do fill in the blank on a regular basis while doing it, you would find yourself feeling really resentful about the growth itself. What would you fill that blank in with? So again, if you were to 2x your business and increase your revenues and hit all of your targets, but you did not do the fill in the blank last year, last month, or last quarter, even though you hit all your revenue targets, you would find yourself still unfulfilled or resentful about the business itself. Whatever you answer in that question, you want to make sure that you build that into your schedule as a standard. That's why I call it standard over schedule. Oftentimes, the types of things I hear is like, if I grow the business and we hit all of our revenue targets, but I wasn't working out at least 3 times a week, and my health declined just in the process of doing so, I probably would regret or resent my very business. If I didn't spend at least 1 or 2 days fully present with my family, if I didn't have a date night, if I didn't go home to see my parents, if I didn't go out with my friends once a month, whatever the answers to those things are, make sure on a weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis, you have a minimum standard built into your schedule for those things. Minimum meaning like, sure, you might want to go out with your friends like 12 times during the quarter, but at minimum, you might be like, if I'm not doing it at least once a month, I will start to feel really burnt out and resentful. So make sure at least one time a month, you have an intentional set day where you know you're going out with friends. Same thing, whether it's date night, whether it's family time, whether it's enough times that you're at the gym or going surfing or whatever it is, that you have that blocked off in your schedule. And that's why we call that standard over schedule, because you know the minimum times that you are committed to never falling below, making sure those things are happening as part of your growth plan. So often as founders and CEOs, we think if I take that time off, my business isn't going to grow. The reframe, I believe, is I will never grow to the next level if I'm not doing those things. Because by doing those things, I am most energized, fueled, and showing up as the best version of myself. And after you get to $1 million, growing to the next level isn't just about working harder. It's about the quality of the work that you're putting in. It's about the quality of the focus. And if I'm showing up as the best version of myself, I'm going to get more output from 6 to 8 hours than if I'm just grinding for 12 hours, but I am low energy, unfulfilled, and on the verge of burnout. Okay, great. So if you've applied Pay Yourself First, you're now building your business on a more stable, solid foundation to actually build a business that you grow to love instead of grow to hate. But you might be saying, but Mike, I still feel stuck in my own business. That's the second system. And that is called the 4 Ds. So if you're doing the every day deserves 15 minutes, every week deserves an hour, one of the things that I encourage to do during that 15 minutes and during that hour is you start to make your to-do list. You make your priority list. But what I have found is that a lot of people make a long to-do list and then they don't filter it through a prioritization matrix. And that's what I consider the 4 Ds. Let's walk through them. The first thing I do every night or every week as I look at my tasks, as I look at what has to get done the week ahead, is the first thing I look at is what can I delete off of here? It sounds like a nice to-do thing, but it's not highest priority. Or I can get it done so quickly right now in 1 to 2 minutes, I can bang it out and just delete it right off my list right now. The first thing I'm looking for is what can I delete? Less is more. And so I want to minimize that list down as quickly as possible. The second thing that I want to do is I want to then look at that list and say, while I could be the one to do those things, what should or could I delegate off of this list? Now, you might say, Mike, I already delegate. I still feel trapped. There are a couple keys that are really important when you're delegating at this level now. And the first is that you're not delegating tasks, you're delegating outcomes. So often I see CEOs and entrepreneurs delegating the task. Hey, I need you to do this. but they're not delegating the outcome itself. And so what happens? The person you're delegating to ends up needing to come back to and through you to bring that task to finality. They need your approval or they need your help in making final decisions. So you're not delegating tasks, you're delegating outcomes. Second thing you want to make sure you're doing is you're delegating decision making, not just doing. So for example, I remember early on in my career, I'd ask my team to book Airbnbs, and then they would send me this whole folder of Airbnbs they saved, and I'd still have to go through 14 different Airbnbs anyways. It didn't really feel like it was saving me time. And I realized that wasn't their fault, that was my fault. I had just delegated the task of book an Airbnb. I didn't really give them both an outcome, and I didn't give them a decision-making matrix so they can think the way I would think. Today, I'm not involved with Airbnb reservations at all. I just show up and I'm satisfied with the Airbnbs they actually book. Why? Because there are decision matrix in there. I like area. I like close to downtown. I want close to the airport. I want blah, blah, blah. They understand the way I would look at Airbnb so they can make the decisions for me as if it was me. Okay, so you're making sure you're delegating decision-making, not just doing. And then lastly, you want to make sure you're delegating how to think. As obvious and simple as this sounds, it so often isn't done. Like when it comes to decision-making, how do they need to think about solving problems, what could come up, and even giving them frameworks to be able to make decisions. For example, my EA, when she first started, I noticed that she would come to me with every single spending decision. So at that stage in our business, we made a simple rule that if it was below $250, she could make the decision without my approval. Then as the business grew, that grew to $500 to $1,000, so on and so forth. And so now every little decision doesn't need to come back to and through me. If there are decisions beyond $1,000, then we have simple decision-making calls in place. We go through all those decisions. She's not texting me on a regular basis. We filter through all of them and boom, they're done. I'm going to get to that for you here in a second. But again, as you're going through your to-do list daily or weekly, first thing you're looking to do is delete as many of them off the list as possible. Then you're looking at which ones can you delegate, but not just delegate the doing, delegate the outcome and the decision-making. The third one you're looking to do is identify on your list which things you can delay. Just because you could get it done this week doesn't mean you should at the cost of a higher priority. Sometimes we treat everything like it's an emergency, everything like it's urgent, and it takes us away from focusing on the highest value priority things. And it oftentimes creates this feeling of I can never turn off because everything always needs to get done right now. So I take a look at what can I delay off of this list. It's not actually time sensitive. It's not actually urgent for this week, this month, etc. After I filter through all of that, it should land on the final D, and that is what am I actually going to do? And then I look at the list and I start to number them in priority order. So I can then take those things in highest priority order and put them or give them a home in my actual calendar. Now I don't feel overwhelmed by the to-do list because I either just got it done and deleted them, delegated a lot of them, delayed a few of them, and now I know I'm working on the highest value priorities or tasks going into this week. And so the second key to growing your business, but in a way that doesn't feel like you're always on, is have a matrix to filter your to-do list through the 4 Ds: delete, delegate, delay, and do. And the third and final piece to this is an execution operating system. And the credit goes to the author of the 12-week year that has been really instilled in my organizations. But it's built on the foundation that what? Simple scales. We've all heard that before, right? But on the flip side of that, complexity is the killer of all growth, of all focus, of all freedom, and all of those things. And so the 12-week year instills and installs a handful of important things in your business. If you've never heard this before, I'm a believer in it. And that when it comes to entrepreneurship, the most valuable resource that we have as founders, as CEOs is what? And we say time, we say energy, and there's truth to that. But you could argue that the most valuable resource that we want to protect as CEOs as we're growing is our focus. When we're focused on 9,000 things, it breeds complexity. And so what the 12-week year allows and what you want to bring into your organization is the first thing is a clear mission or outcome. This clear mission or outcome aligns the team to know what is priority and what is not. Again, simple scales. In doing so, it eliminates the need for you to feel like you're on meetings having to tell people what to do. You start every quarter with every member of your team having a clearly strategized week by week set of tactics that if they did that week by week, you would hit your goals. And let me walk you through that. And so the second key here is that you have week by week tactics. That is every member of your team, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, they know exactly what they need to execute on, that thus by executing on those things would lead to the accomplishment of the mission or the goal for this quarter. When the team is aligned in that nature, it doesn't feel like every single person is just working on their own individual projects. It does feel in many ways like, as cheesy as it sounds, like the team is rowing together. What happens when you have flow instead of friction is you have less meetings, less communication, and the team can move faster, which leads to a bit more of like asynchronous systems for communication. And while I'm not going to cover this in detail on this video, I have a full quick hitter, like 10-minute training on exactly how my team even manages Slack. As simple and as silly as that sounds, it was not too long ago that I felt like I absolutely hated Slack. I felt anxious about it. I would avoid it by all means. And now it's one of my favorite ways to communicate because of the way we manage Slack. I know that sounds silly, but that training is arguably very, very valuable if you want to move faster and get your time back. So you want to make sure that you have clear async communication systems in a way that works for you and your team. This minimizes the need for excessive meetings, which then you might say, well, which meetings do I run? I run 3 key meeting touch points. My companies today are all virtual, so we don't have the liberty of being in person right next to each other. So these are 3 key meetings on a weekly basis. Number 1, we have a weekly Monday, what we call WHAM. That's from the 12-week year. It's like a weekly accountability meeting. It allows us to take a look at what did we say we were going to get done last week? What did we actually get done? What are our highest priorities and commitments this week? What do we need to workshop right now to get a majority of them done before Monday's even over? Then from there, we have a daily huddle. I remember the first time I heard the idea of a daily meeting, I was like, hell no. The last thing I need is more meetings. And I could tell you, and this comes from Traction, this comes from the book Scaling Up, the daily huddle has been one of the best pulse checks for our company in a way that I believe it has taken me out of Slack 50%. It's minimized the number of meetings we need. There's not all this random communication. Every day for 15 minutes, the leadership team is able to get together and share, here's what I'm focused on, here are my KPIs, here's what I need support or synchronization on with other members of the team. By the time 15 minutes are over, we've de-hassled most of the bottlenecks in the business for that day. We go move on and we revisit the next day. That 15 minutes has arguably saved me 15 hours on a weekly basis, daily huddles. And then the third one, with my EA or chief of staff or whoever you have on your team, is a decision-making meeting. Instead of 900 text messages and Slack messages and voice notes and Looms, like, hey, what do you think of this? Can we get your approval? It's 30 minutes. In the calendar event is a line item bullet point of everything we're going to go through to make decisions on. We show up. I go, all right, walk me through your list. I say, Ashley, Bree, walk me through your list. And they go, all right, Mike, is this cool? Are you okay with this? Take a look at this. In 30 minutes, anything that still needed my approval or decision making, we get it all done and we get right back to work. Okay. And so the third and final thing, if you want a CEO time system in your organization, is to have a clear execution system or a pulse that allows these things to get done, but not in a way that feels like it bogs you down, keeps you in the weeds, and traps you of working in the business instead of getting to work on the business. And it starts with having a clear mission so the team's aligned. Strategic alignment of what everybody's executing week by week. A clear system for async communication that might look different for everybody. If you want to see how we utilize Slack to move faster as a company and a scaling company, we have a training on that. And then when you do have meetings, you make sure you run meetings with a clear intention. For us, that is a Monday accountability meeting, daily huddles to de-hassle things, and a decision-making meeting so we can get it all done all in one time. So if you've scaled a business to $1 million, congratulations. And at the same time, if you feel trapped in that very business, like you can't go on a real vacation, you can't take a real day off, you fear if you do disconnect, the entire thing's going to fall apart, you're not alone. So many entrepreneurs, so many CEOs, myself included. The very first time I built my first 7-figure business, that's exactly how I felt. I thought I would get to $1 million and feel all this freedom, and yet I felt more and more imprisoned in that very business. And the reality is you're not behind, nothing's wrong with you, but how you built the business to $1 million is different about how you want to build the business to the next level. And so if you're a 30 to 100K a month coach who knows you're the bottleneck in your organization, on the outside, everything looks great. Your revenues are up, lead gen is great, things are dialed in, but yet you feel like you're a prisoner to your own business and you want to install the systems that allow you to not only have scale, but also have freedom. A business that can run with or without you, click the link in the description if you would like a free growth game planning call where we get to coach and identify the bottlenecks, the strategic alignment, and the highest priorities for you to grow your business right now. Go ahead and click that link below and we can schedule a game planning call and identify how to grow your business with more freedom. And as always, I appreciate you so much for being here. I hope this video was valuable for you. Make sure you don't just take information, but you actually implement it. And I'll see you in our next videos.